Welcome to another AFC East Summit show. We have another week in the books of the NFL season and another week where the AFC East comes away winless. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more coming up on tonight's show. It's going to start right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dolph Van Keith. I'll be your host tonight on tonight's AFC East Summit show. With me tonight, we have Jake, Anthony, and Chris, our resident Bills, Jets, and Patriots fans. And I, of course, am your Dolphins fan. The Dolphins were off this week, so I'm going to defer to these guys for the most part in the early part of this show here. The Dolphins got healthier, and they kind of regrouped after that loss in Germany. So it was kind of nice to just sit back and enjoy football for a weekend. I know Anthony had a bye week earlier on, and it didn't hurt that I got to see the rest of the AFCs lose. What's going on, guys? Jake, how you doing? It's good to see you back on the show.
Hey, I appreciate you, Keith. Absolutely. It's been a minute since I've been on the show with you guys, and excited to be on. I am wearing the jersey of a man that laid the lumber yesterday. My boy, Reed Ferguson, the better of the two Fergusons. No offense to Blake. Freaking love the guy, too. But this man's a Buffalo Bill, and probably one of the bright spots of yesterday's horrendous performance. Minus the defense. Defense played well. There were still some good takeaways, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah, I'm just, following the normal course for the Bills. And I'll tell you what, if there's any team that could use a bye week, it's probably this Buffalo Bills team. But, man, we're trying to figure it out. And right now I'm in that phase where I'm trying to digest everything and trying not to be too miserable. And then by Friday, again, I'll think, hey, we have a Super Bowl team. So it's all good. It's just par for the course.
When's the bye week for the Bills, Jake?
Bye week is week 14 this year.
Ooh,
so
rough.
It's late. Yeah.
All right. Anthony, what's going on, man? I know you were off last week. You had some exciting news with your wife, so that's great for you.
Yeah, no, it was actually a pretty good week for me, and then I got that stinker on Sunday. That was exciting. Yeah. I don't know why we continue to be on like primetime games. Like, this is not a primetime football team. Playing against the Raiders is not a primetime football game. But, just so the whole world gets to watch us, like, struggle on offense over and over again. It just feels like, a replay of every single week. We play a very close game. Zach Wilson the offensive play calling is extraordinarily conservative until we're actually down. And then we get 2-3 drives at the end of the fourth quarter. Usually we don't put it away the first time, probably not the second time. Then we're launching Hail Marys at the end of the game, and we get them or we don't.
I'll say this, Anthony. That Hail Mary throw by Zach Wilson was an impressive throw. Rolling to his right and tossing that ball, what was that, 50 yards in the air at least? Mm-hmm. That's why the Jets drafted Zach Wilson where they drafted him. That kind of arm talent you can't teach.
Absolutely. And, that's the thing about him. Like, if you let him rip it just consistently, you're going to get, you'll get interceptions like you got in the red zone, but at least he'll get you down to the red zone. When you're just running it into the middle of the defense for 3 yards in a cloud of dust over and over again, hoping that Breece Hall finally breaks one, that's just surrender football. And that's what you get with a defensive head coach. And, we've got a game against the Bills, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later on.
Yeah,
but this just feels like a repeat. Every single game feels like Groundhog Day. And that's football for me. I watch some of the other games, and it's always like just me being jealous of like Josh Dobbs making Minnesota look relevant, or Kyler Murray coming back after like a year tearing his ACL, making the Cardinals look exciting. Like, why is offense so hard? It's not fair. Why can't we have a good offense too?
We'll try to get things more upbeat during this show, guys. But, but there's actually, I mean, as far as our teams go, there's not a lot to.
The most upbeat thing I have, to be honest with you, is the fact that, like, you know, we lost, but all the other cool kids did too. So
yeah,
sure did.
For the AFC at large in general.
Turns out we're not very good.
All right, Chris, what's going on, man? You are probably the most down in the dumps of all of us right now. But how you doing, bro?
I mean, as a Patriots fan who has seen so many winning seasons, so many championship seasons, this is really hard to watch. This is not the team that we signed up for. This is not the team I even thought that we'd be coming into the season. I had a lot of hope. You know, I figured that Mac Jones would finally get it right this season, you know, finally show some prowess. We had the offensive coordinator we needed, and I just thought that we'd be so much better than what we are right now. And even I think the Patriots organization was kind of fed up with the production that we have. You could see during the game Bill O'Brien chewing out Mac Jones for his performance. So it just kind of it was just kind of rough to watch us right now. You know, I didn't think I'd ever see the day when we were this bad, you know, fighting for last place in the NFL. So, you know, besides that, I'm sure that we can just continue to take the pieces that we have and probably it's a quarterback issue. Find a quarterback that we need and probably turn our season around. But
you know, Chris, I do feel bad for you, but only to an extent because, you know, you're seeing some dark football right now. I was molded by dark football.
Likewise.
Yeah. You didn't know the light until you became a man.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, it's like what Bane said in The Dark Knight Rises. You know, you merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it. I was molded by it. All right, so there's some guys that are tuned into the channel tonight. Go Bills podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
What's up, Brett? Big week for you, brother. Big week for you, man.
Yeah. Congratulations to Brett.
Hell yeah, Brett. Congrats,
brother. Sean, thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the positivity, Sean.
Yeah.
A lot of positivity there.
Yeah, really.
The other teams.
Yep. Shout out to Anthony on the exciting news.
Anthony, I don't want to spoil anything, but I missed the boat on this news.
All right. So the other day, my wife texted me right before the show, about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the show, when she was getting off of work, and she's like, "Listen, we have to go talk about something."
Oof, that's always scary.
Right?
Scary.
Right. So you know, we go out to dinner, and she's like, "So I got offered the job." She'd been interviewing with another airline, and they called her back literally the day after the second interview.
Oh,
so,
that's awesome,
great.
man.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. They're super excited about it. So I think early December she's going to start.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, congrats. Congrats to the wife. That's big time news. Love to hear it.
Awesome.
Listen, you're not the only superstar in that household.
No. I'm believe it or not, I'm like the tattoo, and she's the actual boss. So I'm like the deep lane guy.
They're always the boss. They're always the boss. Don't let them think that too much, but they are.
Yeah.
Wow. Alan, thank you for tuning in. Don't give up, Sean. Remember, Rudy, never give up. Yeah, never give up. It's not over till it's over, right?
That's right.
And Bills fans, CA, place my bet.
I love to see that, Mike.
That's
love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Not the way they've been playing lately.
No. That's certainly true. But there's plenty of talent on that team. They can turn it around, hopefully. Well, you know, for Jake's sake, not mine.
We'll probably get into it more in the show, but they did fire their offensive coordinator.
Sure did.
Yeah,
that was big news.
Yes.
We need to get into that.
Yeah, we will. So I guess I'll start off with you, Jake. Take us through that game last night.
Yeah, I'll take you through the game. So first off, I just want to say we are undefeated at tailgates. So let that record set itself straight. There's never been a tailgate that the Buffalo Bills have lost, but there's been many heartbreaking games that we have lost, and last night was just an example of that. Very undisciplined football. I was in the crowd too, by the way, guys. So I was 14 rows behind the Bills bench. I was at about the 25-yard line. And I'll tell you this, the crowd was absolutely electric. I mean, you could always count on us showing up. I mean, we were into the game. The defense was into the game. That defense bailed that offense out so many times yesterday. That was really the story of it. The miscues, the drop passes, the turnovers, and not capitalizing on those opportunities that our defense gave us. Just continually disappointing. I thought there were some good things still, even with all those bad things. I mean, we finally got that running game established. So that was nice to see. I mean, James Cook, 12 carries, 109 yards. The only issue was he was benched for a quarter and a half of football after he fumbled the first play of the game. And, I think, talking about Ken Dorsey, part of his game plan going into that game was to feature James Cook a lot. Work with some of that zone running scheme, which he does so well. You saw a little bit of under center, which I love that, just a mix of under center and in shotgun. I thought we did a really good job running the football under center as well. I think, unfortunately, after that game, a lot of people were pointing fingers, and they were pointing fingers at Sean McDermott, rightfully so, because, it's a difference of having 12 men on the field and, just having Will Lutz miss a potential game-winning field goal. And Bill should have had that game in the bag because of that alone. It shouldn't have came down to that, but the reality of the situation is if there's not 12 men on the field, Buffalo wins that game, and I'm sure we're upset about it, but it's a win, and we're 6-4, and we're not feeling hopeless. And I don't think Ken Dorsey gets fired either.
No.
I'm sure he's more on the hot seat, but Ken Dorsey was a scapegoat in this entire process. He is not the guy that should have been canned. I don't think anyone really should have been canned mid-season like this. If there was anyone I guess have expected to be canned, it would have been the special teams coach, Matthew Smiley. And no disrespect to him, I like the guy a lot. He's actually my cousin's neighbor, and I've heard great things about the dude. But man, I mean, you can't let these punt returns go to the 50-yard line every time, man. Like Sam Martin had a really bad game too. He didn't do us any favors, but then the kick coverage after the fact to allow them to net 20 yards on every return like that, it was brutal, man. We made Marvin Mims look like freaking Dante Hall out there yesterday.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, it was hard to watch. And honestly, it was like one step forward, two steps back. It just took the air out of the stadium.
Yeah.
Hey, Jake, I was gonna ask you too. Sorry to cut you off. I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I know you mentioned that the defense was what bailed you out constantly during the game against the Broncos. How did it feel to have the defense ultimately give the game away at the end?
That's the problem. We left them with too much time. But the thing is, when you play 40 minutes of football as a defensive player, those guys were so gassed, man. And this is a defense that's held up by duct tape right now. I mean, we had Terrell Bernard just coming off concussion protocol again. We had other guys. I think Tyrell Dotson went out of that game yesterday, too. I mean, that defense is so banged up, and they were playing so above what the expectations are. It's not them. It's not them. And quite frankly, this offense should be able to score more than 20 points a game. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. There's no excuse that this offense doesn't put up more points. And I don't put that fully on Ken Dorsey. I mean, you saw all the drop passes. I mean, you saw the turnovers and the laziness, in terms of the handoffs. And there's a lot there, and I'll say this, like maybe Ken Dorsey's offense isn't the best fit for Josh Allen because it does rely on efficiency and a quarterback that can distribute the football and a guy that's going to dink and dunk. And that's really not Josh Allen's game, but we saw what it could be in those first 4 weeks of the season. I mean, we saw what it did against Keith's Dolphins team even.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're just at a point where nothing seems to be working. And the ultimate thing that happened out of this was Ken Dorsey getting fired. And that was it.
I've been critical of Ken Dorsey in the past, Jake, but because I don't think he's the best fit for Josh Allen. I think you're right about that. But last night wasn't his fault. I agree with you there as well. That was a confluence of factors that it was. I don't put last night's offensive performance on Ken Dorsey, but like I said, I have been critical of Ken Dorsey in the past because I think Josh Allen would be better suited to a Bruce Arians type offense.
Mm-hmm.
More vertical more vertical type offense. And, that would play to his strengths a lot more, I think. Clear out the field for him to run a little bit more and take advantage of that huge arm of his. But so who's going to take over for Ken Dorsey here, Jake?
So Joe Brady is going to be our new guy. He's 34 years old. He's pretty young, but he was LSU's offensive coordinator in 2019. He obviously benefited from that quite a bit. And he was actually a co-offensive coordinator. Technically, he was more in charge of the passing game while another guy was in charge of the running game. He then went from there to Carolina, had 2 pretty tough years there, and ended up getting fired with Matt Rule like midway through the year of his second season. And that offense was bad. And I'm not saying they had the greatest personnel, but you did have CMC for a year, although he was banged up.
DJ Moore.
So I'll say this. The change in dynamic is going to be cool to see because Joe Brady, from what I understand, is going to stay on the field with Josh Allen as opposed to being in the booth. He's been on the field with Josh Allen this entire season, and I watched them yesterday. I mean, they communicate. Josh comes off the field, immediately goes right to Joe Brady. They sit down on the bench. They talk about what they did good, what went wrong, etc. So I think that relationship is good. It's solid, and that's always key. And that's how Josh and Ken Dorsey were when Ken Dorsey was their quarterback coach, and that's how it should be.
When he
he's taking
on the sidelines, Jake.
Yes.
He was. Okay.
Yeah, I believe he was. And
I never understood why he was up in the booth like that.
Better vantage point, I guess, and maybe that. Maybe he felt like
he's in the booth for the Dolphins. He's their defensive coordinator. He's in the booth for the Dolphins, and I can't say I love it, but I didn't love it for Ken Dorsey either.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel like he should have been down there on the field, especially with how Josh has been this year. You could tell with him, and I've said this on multiple shows. I just feel like Josh is mentally not all there. He's like mentally exhausted, and he just is staring out into space, and it's almost like he's lacking passion this season. And I don't want to question his passion for the game or anything like that, but you don't see that same fire that we saw in previous seasons. And you got to think, like, I wonder if this is like, is it because he's not playing as well? Like, even though statistically he's still putting up insane numbers, but like the results are not there, and it's a results-based business. And now that we're 5-5, it's a position we haven't been in really within this Sean McDermott era outside of 2018, which is Josh's rookie year. And even so, he went 5-6 that year, and he looked like he's this up and coming guy, and he was going to be him like he was the last 3 years. But I'm at a loss, man. I'm kind of in shambles, to be honest, but we're getting back. We're building back better.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the spark we needed to reignite this offense. I don't know.
It's only Tuesday, Jake. By Friday, you're going to be foaming at the mouth for more Bills football.
I know I will.
I know you.
I know I will be. I'm going to this Jets game too, by the way. So.
Oh, nice. And you're going to be at the Eagles game in 2 weeks. So
and I didn't even mean to do it. I mean, we won these Broncos tickets at a stag, and then I was just offered these Jets tickets. My buddy got 4 free tickets, and he said, "Hey, man, do you want to come with?" And I said, "Hell yeah!" I mean, I can't say no. So, yeah,
awesome. All right, Anthony, I'm going to move on to you. Jets Raiders Sunday Night Football. That was something to watch on Sunday night.
It was not something to watch. It was something to turn the TV off. I mean, if you have anything else on Sunday night, just do that. Watch the highlights later. I mean, the truth of the matter is, like I was saying before, it's just a conservative offense until we're down. Like everybody wants to point at like the best game that Zach Wilson has had this season was the Chiefs game, right? Against a very good defense. We were down 17-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you can't lose us the game now. If that's the way you're going to operate in modern football, where your quarterback is only allowed to be a modern quarterback if the team is so far out of the game, then these are the results you're looking at. We haven't blown anybody out in the entire Robert Saleh era, I don't think. I can't remember a time that maybe one of the Mike White games when he was allowed
Dolphins Jets last year. You blew us out of the water up at MetLife. Yeah. That was a rough game to watch, Anthony.
It's just they come so far and few and far between. Like teams like the Raiders, they shouldn't be on our level. We were facing a rookie quarterback in Aidan O'Connell who literally couldn't do anything. It's not even just him. Justin Herbert couldn't do anything against us. Patrick Mahomes barely did anything against us. Josh Allen,
3 picks.
The list of quarterbacks that have struggled to move the football against us, like, I don't understand what are you so afraid of? If you pride yourself on defense and you pride yourself on quarterbacks barely being able to be average against you, you shouldn't care what your quarterback does. Fling it up, score some touchdowns, play vertical football. The drops, the penalties. We had a penalty that took back a touchdown from C.J. Uzomah. 2nd down and 18. Garrett Wilson drops a pass for like a 16-yard completion, which would have set it up as 3rd and 2. Garrett Wilson drops a bucket pass right in front of him for 40-plus yards. We have a bad receiving core, and I love Garrett Wilson. He is a special player, but he doesn't have what I would classify as strong hands. He bobbles catches, he double catches, which is great because he has amazing hand-eye coordination. He's able to do that, and he's incredibly flexible, and he can jump, and he does amazing special things. But like,
he's not
Devontae Adams. He's not DeAndre Hopkins, who's just going to put one hand out there and snatch a ball. And then you have guys like Alan Lazard, who again will double and triple catch passes that are right in his hands. Yeah. It's not a good personnel match between what we have in our receiving core and the quarterback that we have.
Yeah. I was thinking about it before, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know your thoughts on this. Like, I always thought this, and the more I watched the Jets this season, unfortunately, I've been watching the Jets this season, but the more I watch the Jets this season,
the whole nation has, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have.
But the more I watch them, the more I think this was an offense that was specifically designed for one person and one person only to be successful with it, and that's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
and that starts with the offensive coordinator and Nathaniel Hackett.
Absolutely.
And the guys that got brought in, like Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, and Randall Cobb is stealing from the Jets right now. I can't believe they're paying him to stay on the side.
He's inactive every week. He's inactive every week now, and they said it's because he's hurt. Well, whatever. Like maybe he's hurt, but like the offense works better without him.
Well, at this stage of his career, any offense would work better. I mean, he's just he doesn't have it anymore. He's not the player he was in Green Bay or even Dallas.
I'll defend particularly Cobb and maybe a little bit Lazard because like it's not uncommon for like a coach to bring in players he's worked with in the past to teach the young players how he likes to have things done because you only have a certain number of coaching hours that you can work with them. So you want the veteran leaders sometimes. And Cobb stealing money, sure, but he is that sort of veteran leader. And the younger players did grow up watching him play.
Yeah.
And he does know the offense extraordinarily well. And he knows specifically what Aaron Rodgers was looking for in his routes. So, like, I understand the value in having a player like that. The problem is Corey Davis isn't there. And, he retired.
Did he retire?
C.J. Uzomah is one of those players I would say is 100% stealing money. And Dalvin Cook is stealing money. He had his best game for the Jets this past week, and I think he had like 30 yards.
Yeah.
On 7 carries. But that's an amazing game for him these days.
Now in his defense, and he hasn't been good by any means, don't get me wrong, but in his defense, it's hard to take Breece Hall off that field. And Dalvin Cook has always been one of those guys that got stronger as the game went on.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree, but we drafted Izzy Abanikanda, and we finally today, and this is breaking news, we finally cut Michael Carter, who's taking up too many snaps on third down. So we're finally going to free Izzy. We have an opportunity, maybe some more explosives besides Breece Hall, but you also don't want to take Breece Hall off the field when the only guy coming up behind him or the only guys coming up behind him are Dalvin Cook, who is noticeably not only slow, but has no power at all. No decisiveness, no willing to take contact. He's really at a point where it's you guys, the Bills have Latavius Murray, who's 33 years old. And you see that dude, and he just absolutely bodies people.
Yeah, he does. He's the oldest running back in the NFL. Look at him.
He doesn't look 33, Jake.
He doesn't.
He
He's a
bodies people.
he's a new Frank
He is
Gore.
that change of pace.
Yeah.
He's the change of pace to James Cook.
Yep.
Yeah.
That really makes a difference sometimes. When you have that one dude that is just going to throw his body, his 240-pound body, right into a linebacker, take on that contact and look for another one.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that. Dalvin Cook just falls down.
In retrospect, Leonard Fournette, who the Bills just signed, might have been a better signing for the Jets than Dalvin Cook.
We'll see when Leonard Fournette plays.
Yeah.
Because he still isn't on the field yet. And Latavius Murray is making it, so that's not super relevant. He's on their practice squad for the Bills, right? They didn't sign him to a real contract.
Yeah. No, he's on the practice squad. Yeah. I scratched my head at that signing a little bit. Maybe it was to light some fire under Latavius Murray, because there was like a stretch of games where he wasn't picking up that easy yard, but now he looks rejuvenated again. And
I feel like that was to light a fire under James Cook as well, Jake, because Cook
probably.
Because one thing that is really underrated about Leonard Fournette is he catches the ball out of the backfield extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
And so he could take, in theory, and this is what he's been throughout his career. He's a 3-down back. He can do it all. Pass, protect, catch the ball, run between the tackles. Like, that's what Leonard Fournette is. So, I feel like, a signing like that puts guys like Latavius Murray and James Cook on notice, just shape up, or maybe this guy's going to be taking some snaps from you.
For sure. But yeah, we don't have that change of pace back. We finally, cutting Michael Carter gives us a spot for Izzy Abanikanda, who's an extremely explosive running back, very similar to Breece Hall, 215, 4'4", 4'4", 140, 40-inch vertical, just every measurable that you're looking for in an NFL explosive back. So maybe that helps out a little bit, but that's still managing things around the edges. This defense drags this team to wins, and the offense is meant to try not to lose the game. And fundamentally, until Aaron Rodgers comes back, which maybe mid-December, he says on Pat McAfee, maybe we are still in it. If we can pull out 2 or 3 wins between now and then, and we're not out of the playoff picture, we still have a shot at the wild card. And at this point, it's still a shot at the division if you look at the division right now. Maybe, but I was really hoping to come out of the stretch of 3 games with at least 2 wins. I even said on the show that I thought we might have a shot at 3 wins. That was a joke, a fart in the wind against the Chargers. But we should have beaten the Raiders. That was an opportunity to come out of this stretch with 2 out of 3. Division game coming up against the Bills. Josh Allen maybe not looking amazing. Anything could possibly happen. I don't see a reason why the Bills. I think the Bills are a worse team than what the Bills team that we played on week 1, particularly on defense. The Jets are, they are what they are right now. Like you said, they're built for one team. They're built for Aaron Rodgers.
All right. Well, we'll get into that Jets Bills game in a couple minutes. But first, I want to talk to Chris about that Patriots game. They played in Germany, eating some sauerkraut.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Take us through that Patriots game, Chris. That was another rough one to watch.
I think, like you said, Keith, it was a very rough game to watch, and I think we finally identified the issue. Unfortunately, throughout the first half of the season, I did blame the running backs for their lack of production. I blamed the offensive line for their terrible blocking. But looking at this game right here against the Indianapolis Colts, you can really see that we have a quarterback problem. Houston, we have a problem at the quarterback position. Mac Jones is not that guy. He hasn't stepped up. He hasn't progressed. He's actually regressing as the season goes on. You can see it. I know we talked about it a little bit in the room before the show started, but Mac Jones I think he's causing a lot of frustration in that Patriots camp. You can see it in Bill Belichick's face. You can see it in Bill O'Brien's face, and he's chewing Mac Jones out in the sideline. I think it was after he severely underthrew that touchdown to Mike Gesicki. And it
That
didn't
ball
even
was
make.
underthrown by at least 10 yards, Chris.
Oh my God, I could have made a better pass than that, but
Yeah.
it was just, it was just horrible to watch, especially because he was so open. The coverage broke down. He just had to throw it ahead of him and lead him to it. So when you got the running backs and when you got the team rushing for 150 combined yards on the ground, and Mac Jones throwing for 170 yards in an interception, it's like, who do you blame at that point? So
Yeah.
it's just really a rough game to watch. You can see Mac Jones. He's not comfortable in the pocket. At least in the beginning of the season, he was stepping up in the pocket, making the quick throws, not worrying about the contact. At this point in the season, he's just going into the fetal position like Eli Manning toward the end of his career, ducking down. He sees the pressure coming on. He panics. He won't make a play, and he'll just drop down to the ground and protect himself. So that's where we're at now. I think it's time to it's time to move on from Mac Jones' experiment. It's a failed experiment, and it's time to see what we can do.
All right. So in that light, Chris, who are you looking at for next year? Who do you want?
I think I'd be better in the in the draft, because I can't see too many quarterbacks right now that I'd pick from the NFL. I would have liked Josh Dobbs, but Josh Dobbs went to Minnesota and he's doing his thing right now. I guess if I had to pick a quarterback, probably just a bridge quarterback, maybe someone like a Case Keenum. I'm not sure where Kirk Cousins is going to land up now that Josh Dobbs is taking over the position in Minnesota. I feel like he's going to be the guy moving forward, but maybe a Kirk Cousins I'd like to see. I know he maybe want to go to a team that's at least competitive and competing for a spot, but I think with the pieces that we have, we possibly could compete for a spot if we had a good quarterback throwing to it. I mean, you see we have some potential. DeMario Douglas went for 80 yards. He's continued to prove to be that guy, that lead receiver on our offensive side. Juju Smith-Schuster has continued to be a disappointment. And but we have potential in Gesicki and Hunter Henry. These guys are all being underutilized by the inaccuracy of Mac Jones. So it's just hard to see.
This is a strong draft this year for quarterbacks, Chris. So I think maybe, if you guys are looking towards the draft, I don't know how high you're going to be picking, but there's Drake May, Caleb Williams, the kid from Washington, Michael Penix. He looks like he's a good player too.
Mm-hmm. I take any of them over Jones. Who does it matter? If Shedeur Sanders wants to declare for the draft, please come to New England, Shedeur.
Oh, there you go.
Have you? Yeah. So
I don't know that Shedeur Sanders is going to go to the draft just yet.
I know, not yet.
Seasoning.
Dion says absolutely not. He won't let him do it.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah,
smart.
It's not. Colorado started out, hot, but they've gone cold of late.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, I think they're 1 of 6 or 1 of 5 in the last. They're really cool.
It's been tough sledding for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's. You know what, Chris? One more thing.
Yes.
Bill Belichick, will he be the coach of the Patriots next year?
The rumor has it that he may be moving on to other greener pastures. He might be going to Washington, the Commanders. So maybe it's time. The tenure of the Bill Belichick era has ended, but I don't. Sometimes it's good to just shake things up and see how we can just change things around in the organization. He's been a great coach for us. He's won us multiple 6 championships. So you can't knock anything that he's done. The Pats did cut Jones, Mac Chatter. Apparently he had a lot of off-field issues that caused him to unfortunately be cut. I'm sure that's the same issues that he had in Los Angeles as well. So it's
my first thought when I read that was Mac Jones. There's so many Jones.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I wish we cut Mac Jones, and it's funny too because I think Mac Jones did just enough to keep his job. Because remember, we felt like at any point Malik Cunningham or Bailey Zappi was going to make an appearance, and then he had that big game against the Bills. He won the game, and then they cut Malik Cunningham. And he's like, "All right, cool, my job's secured." And he went back to the same old Mac that we have. So
reverted back, yeah. All right, well let's move on to. I know, Chris, the Patriots are on bye this week, correct?
We're still going to find a way to lose somehow.
You always win the bye, man. You can't lose the bye. What are you gonna do though? I mean, Bailey Zappi, is it time? I mean, it's got to happen, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's time. I feel like like I said, the Mac Jones experiment is done. We've had him for a few years. He hasn't really shown him. He's had a couple sparks, but I think at this point he has more losses than Tom Brady in the postseason. So I've seen some crazy statistics. So it's just hard to watch. But I think it's over. I think it's
What
over.
was he,
So
18-23 regular season too?
yeah, he's horrible. So it's rough to see, as a Patriots fan who's used to seeing championship seasons, winning and winning and winning, making a deep playoff runs. It's hard to watch this. No, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. So
who I thought he was going to be? I thought he was going to at least be like Chad Pennington, like I thought that's what he was going to be. Ant, what do you think about that one? Chad Pennington.
Bills fan CA, thank you very much. Favorite AFC show out there. You flatter us.
He said, keep believing. Keep believing, really?
Thank you, Mike. I'm believing.
Well, yeah, thank you, Bills fan, for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to
Ant, you're on mute. That's why we can't hear you. I was like, you're talking.
Sorry about that. Chad Pennington thing, real quick. Chad Pennington had Lavernius Coles. Chad Pennington had Santana Moss. Chad Pennington had Curtis Martin and Richie Anderson. And I forget the tight ends off the top of my head, but like
Anthony Becht.
What do we have for Mac Jones?
Brady?
No, Kyle Brady was gone by that point. Who is the Antonio Becht? No, Anthony Becht.
Anthony Becht,
yep.
Yeah.
Who can we legitimately say that like Mac Jones has? Anybody? Hunter Henry?
Who can we legitimately say that?
Like sticky.
Who can we legitimately say that Tom Brady had?
We can say that he had we can say he had. First off, let's get this Tom Brady thing. Tom Brady was literally one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Nobody's saying Mac Jones is that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, let's leave that aside because that's too high of a standard. But let's point out Sam Howell. What Sam Howell is doing. Nobody considers Sam Howell to be that much of a great draft prospect. But you give him Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Logan Thomas, an offensive coordinator that knows how to set up an offensive line that's reasonable, not even good, and he's leading the NFL in passing yards right now. The fact of the matter is, Mac Jones, but Chad Pennington had weapons. And when you have a quarterback that's a game manager type, you need to load up on weapons. Tua Tagovailoa was nobody until they got Jalen Waddle, and Jalen Waddle was okay his first year. I mean, he caught 1 trillion passes.
Yeah, they were all like 2-yard.
They bring in Hill, and an offensive coordinator that knows how to use them, and suddenly a very good game manager becomes an MVP level quarterback. Kirk Cousins was having an unbelievable year this year because he has Justin Jefferson and they have a running game and they have they brought in Jordan Addison. Like, who are the first round receivers that the Patriots are claiming to fame these days?
They haven't drafted one since N'Keal Harry.
Oh my God. Right? He was a
but after that, before that, no one really. I mean,
and
they're not elevating their game manager quarterback. They're just simply and Bailey Zappi. We can talk about Bailey Zappi if you want, but the fact of the matter is he came in 7 pass attempts and an interception too.
Yeah.
Like, if you want, I dare you, please start Bailey Zappi the rest of the year. Make Mac Jones inactive. Let's just see it. Let's watch the Zap effect. Let's watch the Zappening.
I love it.
Ready for
the Zappening.
The Zappening.
All right, well, let's move on to week 11, guys. Jake, Anthony, you guys are going head to head. Week 1, Jets pulled out a victory against the Bills in a hard-fought game. How do you guys? I'll start with Anthony here. How do you guys see week 11 playing out for you?
It's so weird because both teams are so terrible right now.
Yeah,
the Bills defense, I know that they played well this past week, but it was the Broncos. And the fact of the matter is, like, every time that Josh Allen has had too much pressure on him this season, he's struggling. 2 interceptions and a fumble. Oh, you're showing off the guns? I got some guns.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Hey, now.
Love it.
Yeah, hidden muscle, young man. I love that.
All right. So every time he gets a little bit too much pressure, Josh Allen, or he presses a little bit, Josh Allen is struggling. I honestly feel like this game might be almost identical to the last game, and I probably give it to the Bills because punt return touchdowns in overtime don't happen much. Like, that was a miracle game. and a fourth quarter comeback, and like, we haven't seen Breece Hall break one off on a run that wasn't like a check down or something like that since AVT went out. So like I could see it being a big struggle for us to move the football again. And if Breece Hall doesn't do isn't the deciding factor, if Garrett Wilson doesn't like double touchdown around a cornerback again, we don't win the first one. So what makes us think that we're going to win the second one? That said, there's the Josh Allen effect. Do we get 2 more fumbles, 2 more interceptions? Do we run back for a touchdown? Do we do something crazy happen? Bills and the Jets are crazy these days.
Yeah. Always
That's
a fun game.
It's crazy. And just to change the subject a little bit, I saw like a statistic on Facebook, and I had to just look it up and confirm it. N'Keal Harry went ahead of Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown,
DK Metcalf, obviously.
DK Metcalf and Deontay Johnson.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
He was drafted ahead of all those guys at the end of the first round.
How does that make you feel, Chris?
Yikes.
It's sick then, because if you look at all those guys are way better. Way better. And AJ Brown, I would have loved to have a DK Metcalf. I don't know, and that's why I say, we've talked about it in the previous episodes. Sometimes I don't understand what some of these NFL scouts are doing. If they're watching the same games that we're watching from these college players, how do they make the decisions that they make? It's like, it just doesn't make sense. How did Lamar Jackson go at the end of the first round?
Yeah.
And
Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen was the third quarterback taken in his draft.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce.
Sometimes it's a matter of, it's a matter of where, it's like luck of the draw too. I mean, environment is huge.
Yeah.
If you're placed in an organization that doesn't utilize you the correct way, it's, we talked about that, it's, give them weapons, give them a quarterback that's capable. But I mean, he had Tom Brady at the time towards his end of his career, but still, I mean, crazy.
That is crazy to think about. I'm sorry, Keith. I was going to say that is crazy to think about, Anthony, that Josh Allen was the third quarterback in his draft, and that Daniel Jones was drafted above Josh Allen.
Daniel Jones and
that was
and Kyler Murray. No, Daniel Jones was drafted the pick right before Josh Allen.
No.
I
feel
like Josh Allen's older than that.
Josh Allen was the Sam Darnold
draft with Baker and Sam and Josh Rosen.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking about a different Josh Allen. Sorry.
You're thinking of the DN Josh Allen.
Yeah. I was looking at
I was like, wait a minute.
It confused me.
Jags,
For a second.
Allen? Yeah.
Sorry, it confused me.
Drafting is such an inexact science, and
especially quarterbacks.
Yeah, you just don't know. And I will say this: when the Dolphins drafted Tua, I wanted Tua. I did not want Herbert. I wanted Tua over Justin Herbert. In spite of all the injury issues, in spite of everything, I wanted Tua. I love the way he plays, and injuries aside, Tua has turned into the quarterback that I was hoping. He's turning into the quarterback I was always hoping he was going to be.
I always thought Jalen Hurts was better than Tua, and I think he's kind of shown it in the NFL, in my opinion. Anyway, when they benched him in Alabama, I was like, why would they bench Jalen Hurts? He was always the guy.
Well, no, but you had to have watched that game though. Georgia,
he was struggling.
Georgia was shutting Jalen Hurts down in that game.
Yeah,
I watched that from a hotel room in Florida because I happened to be at Universal Studios at the time, and Jalen Hurts couldn't do anything. And I don't cheer for Alabama. I actually despise Alabama because of Nick Saban, because of what Nick Saban did to the Dolphins. But so I was cheering for Georgia in that game. And then Tua came back and beat him. I was like, oh, darn it, Tua. And how the turntables, right, boys?
That's right. That's
right. Jake, so getting back on topic here. How do you see this game playing out on Sunday?
Oh, do I have a stack for you? Matt Cheddar wanted me to say that. I threw a little New York accent in there too. I don't think I have a New Yorker accent though. It's a Buffalo accent. Like the way we say our A's is kind of weird. We have a nasally accent,
Yeah, it's Canadian.
That was like an Italian New York accent. It was definitely very Italian.
I don't know if I did good on that or not, but
no, it was amazing. It was amazing.
That'll work.
Appreciate that. Acting was like my second choice, so
okay,
we'll take it.
Modeling was your first, and it's worked out great.
Oh, I love that. You guys are amazing. This game on Sunday, I'm kind of with Anthony. I think it's going to be I don't want it to be, but I think it is going to be one of those things where it's like 13-10 or stupid 17-16 finish, or like something dumb's going to happen in this game. You already know it's going to be like a safety, or like someone's going to run out of the back of the end zone, or like punt the ball and it's going to go straight up in the air and it's going to fall down. It's going to hit like the opposing team, and then the punting team's going to recover it. And something stupid is going to happen in this game on Sunday. It pains me to say this, but it's bound to happen. It's Bills and Jets, and that's what it's been, So with that being said, both teams are really due for a win, I think. I mean, flip a coin. I don't know. Flip a coin.
Completely agree.
I got nothing for you, man. I really, like, as optimistic as I am every week, this team hasn't given me a lot to be optimistic about. And going against a Jets defense that is still incredible, man. Like, your defense is, God, I'm so sorry for you, because it's just being wasted with a pathetic excuse for an offense. And the Bills right now, we have so much talent on that offense, and we can't get out of our own way. And I don't know what the resolution is. Firing Ken Dorsey, is that really going to make a difference? I hope so. I hope it reignites him. But for me, I can't see this game being any different. Yeah.
I think that Ken Dorsey firing was more of a light of fire under Josh Allen in particular than anything else. I don't know, that Joe Brady's going to do anything so different from Ken Dorsey that it's going to ignite this offense. I just, that might be the kick in the pants that Josh Allen needed, though. Who knows?
Jake, do you have an inkling as to whether or not, like, Josh would have been consulted on this?
And that's the thing. Ken Dorsey was his guy. Like, he wanted Ken Dorsey to be his OC. And I think that's maybe what got Steph Diggs a little upset, because he felt like he didn't have a say in that. And that sort of spiraled after that. I feel like they would have approached Josh and at least said, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. If you have any, anything you want to say about it, go ahead and say it. But it's probably set in stone. Once they make that decision, it's going to happen, Yeah. And Sean McDermott is running this team. He handpicked Brandon Beane to be his GM as well. Like, this has nothing to do with ownership or anything like that. Like, Sean McDermott is essentially running this team more so than anyone. So,
if the Bills miss the playoffs, does he keep his job?
The sad part is we did give him an extension. And I know that doesn't necessarily lock him in place, but it is through the 2026 season. And I feel like, so this is where ownership comes into play. Terry Pegula, I think they are enamored with the fact that Sean has taken us to a place that we haven't been in since the 90s, really, competing for Super Bowls, although we've regressed every year. I mean, results-wise, we've gotten worse. So I don't think he does. And a lot of people are going to be pissed off about it. It's just going to be a thing where he'll find another offensive coordinator, and it'll be the next guy that gets scapegoated. I just feel like this team, unless there's a massive turnaround where we end up winning out, I just feel like there's no way he's going to win the confidence back of myself, the fan base. It's very broken right now.
Understood.
Yeah.
Chris, how do you see this game going on Sunday?
It's horrible.
Against the Bills and the Jets, that's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good defensive game for sure, because the Jets got scary defense. It's their saving grace for a terrible offense behind Zach Wilson, unfortunately. The Bills have a really big upside on their offensive side, but it all depends on if Josh Allen can feed his receivers, or if he just tries to play hero balls with Stephon Diggs all game. So I think the firing, like you said, there may be the interim coach effect that the Bills may go into with the firing of Kent Dorsey. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. I feel like we see the emergence of Dalton Kincaid, who's been putting up some great numbers over the past weeks. Will the Jets be able to? He's been looking super good. I'm glad I got him on every single one of my fantasy teams except for the sleeper league. But we've seen the emergence of Dalton Kincaid. Can we get Gabe Davis going? Can we get Stephon Diggs?
I feel like we've tried.
He needs? Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, so it's like, what do the Bills do? The running game's looking good, but unfortunately, that defensive line of the Jets is also incredibly strong. So, what do you do if the running game gets shut down and they lock up Stephon Diggs? How does Josh Allen squeeze out a win against the Jets? So it's going to be very interesting. Like Jake said, it might be one of those low-scoring games, or on the flip side, we can see the Bills find that confidence they need and have another blowout victory like they did against the Dolphins early this year. They have the potential to flip it any way. It is any given Sunday, so you never know, but I'm going to be excited to see it regardless.
Is this bad to say? I do want to see Sugar High Josh Allen come back a little bit. I want to see him get hit. Because guess what? Yeah. He says, I need to get hit.
Yeah.
And if it shortens his career by 5 years and we win a Super Bowl with him playing the way he can play and playing reckless at times, but being better than reckless most of the time, I'm okay with it.
He's like
it's a terrible thing to say, but that's how I'm feeling right now.
It almost knocks his head back into the game somehow and motivates him and just kind of gives him power for lack of a better term. When Josh Allen kind of gets hit a little bit, hurdles over guys and last week's game, he got a taunting penalty and he got fined $12,000 for that taunting penalty.
Oh, so dumb.
And all he was doing was, what everybody else does when when Tyreek Hill's running away and he gives the peace sign over his shoulder, I don't think he should have gotten fined for that. And I don't know if that's the reason why he looks so out of it last night, but it wasn't a good it wasn't a good way to start things off, I should say.
Yeah. And body language is key, man. I think him being a leader, being in the position he is in, this Zen mode that he's been in all year long, it's not working. I need to see that fire, man. Like, that's who he is. He is not that player who just can – he's a chill person, I'm sure, but he's not that guy that he's just sitting there, blank stare on his face. I don't love that. I don't love that as a fan. I don't love that as a player, probably. That gets the other guys fired up. They want to play for you. Those guys are going to war for you every freaking play. Yeah. By the way, the offensive line kept him clean as hell yesterday. I thought they did a really good job.
Your offensive line's been a pleasant surprise for you this whole season.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's it called? Josh Allen's like Jake Gyllenhaal in any fighting movie.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way to put it.
I like what Sean's saying here on the chat. He doesn't want the Bills to win a Super Bowl because then McDermott's never going to leave.
It hurts because I think he's a very good defensive-minded guy. He's a great defensive coordinator. But when it comes to situational football and when it comes to, I guess the overall accountability too. I mean, he had a press conference today and he was asked about the Ken Dorsey firing and he's like, now is not the time to talk about it. What? Now is the only time to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like you owe them an answer. You owe all of us an answer.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. Like, he's either robotic or he just doesn't give us an answer, and it just gets us more frustrated. Like, I love Sean McDermott. What he's done for this organization is incredible. It's been the greatest years of my life watching Buffalo Bills football. I've not ever experienced this. I was born in 93. I never got to see the Super Bowls. I never got to see all of that glory in the 90s. The only thing I remember is Music City Miracle, and then after that, 17 years of not going to the playoffs. And then we finally get a taste of it, and that's under Sean McDermott, his first year. And we started progressing, and you started to see that. And then we found a quarterback, and we get Stephon Diggs, and God, here we are. But when does that stop being good enough? I feel like now we're starting to realize, hey, you can't keep settling for a wild card or divisional round loss. Just can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with Sean. Josh needs to grow up if he does need the adrenaline of getting hit to get himself back into a game.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's a fair statement too.
And it's not just like, it's not even, I don't mind the contact a little bit because, like, you know, you get smacked around a little bit. That's fine. But like when he's leaping into defenders headfirst, like, you're lucky that he hasn't had a serious injury.
You're absolutely right.
Concussions or, you know, torn ligaments. Like, I'm not saying that he needs to be a pocket passer, but the idea that he needs the adrenaline of getting hit to get him back into a game is a very childish mentality. And usually that goes away in the first couple of years. But, I mean, he's 28.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Well, Jake, you know, I remember those 90s Bills teams. Those are some of the worst years of watching football in my life. They broke little Dolphin Keith's heart. But all right, so I'm gonna speak on the Dolphins Raiders game real quick, and then we're gonna move on to a little bit of midseason awards for the NFL season. So I'm just gonna speak briefly on the Dolphins here. Dolphins are playing the Raiders on Sunday. They should win. You know, I know that the Jets probably felt the same way against the Raiders last week, but I legitimately think the Dolphins, coming off of a bye, should win this game. They are the better team. They're the more talented team. They are playing this game in Miami. This should be a Dolphins victory. I would be surprised if it wasn't. The Dolphins have a 5-game stretch coming up of the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, and then the Jets again. In these next 5 games, the Dolphins are going to be favored in all 5 of them. They need to go 4-1 at least. I will allow for a loss against the Jets because that's just kind of how it goes with the Dolphins. But they need to go 4-1 over this next stretch if they want to kind of put a stranglehold over this division. Anything less than that, and I will be disappointed, and the division will be in jeopardy for the Dolphins because I don't expect the Bills to go away, and I don't expect the Jets to go away without a fight either. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. Now Mike did send us what's going on with Devon Achane.
I was going to watch. That was the question I was going to ask.
So he got taken off the IR this week. He's going to be back in practice. Whether or not he's going to play this week is still up in the air, but he has 3 weeks to suit back up, and I think he will. The mystery of his knee injury it was a mystery. I'm not entirely sure what happened to his knee. They never really came out and said it, but
I think they said it was like a sprain. It wasn't serious, and they only expected him to miss about 4 weeks. That's why they put him on the injury, what's called IR. And so then with the bye week as well, he got like an extra week to rest. So I think they said he's good to go. Like he wasn't going to miss more than 4 weeks.
Well, I'm hoping he comes back for Sunday. The injury report is going to come out tomorrow for Wednesday. We'll have more clarity on that when that comes out. The Dolphins also have a couple of offensive linemen that are out that I'm even more interested in, if I'm being honest about it. You know, like guys like Robert Jones, Robert Hunt, you know, they're 2 guards, they're starting guards. I'm hoping to get Robert Hunt back for this game, and Robert Jones I don't know about. So, you know, the bye week couldn't have come at a better time for the Dolphins, if we're being honest. So yeah. All right. So I mean, I don't know if you guys have any other questions about the Dolphins this week, but this should be.
What's the status report on Raheem Mostert? I know he's battling an injury right now.
He's going to play. He's looking good. Jalen Waddle was a little banged up. He's going to play as well. Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey. This is going to be their second game playing cornerback together. The secondary, the band's all back together, so that should be good. Looking, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic as far as the Dolphins go, and that's a far cry from how I felt after the Chiefs game last week. So let's move on to some midseason awards. I've been wanting to do this with you guys, so we're gonna do this a little more rapid fire, but I'm gonna start off with, you know, through the midway point of the season, who was your coach of the year? Chris, who's your coach of the year?
The coach of the year would probably be the exact person I'm going to give to the player of the year, but I think the coach of the year would have to go to. That's a good question. You kind of confused me. Come back to me. I got to think about this one.
Jake, who are you thinking?
I got to go with D'Amico Ryans, man. Rookie head coach.
Love it.
A team that is like, there's no expectations. Rookie quarterback, not a ton of household names on that offense. You know, I mean, I love what they did getting Tank Dell, but like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, who I think is an absolute dog, but guys that are playing above this whole thing. Noah Brown looks like a brand new receiver now. I mean, he looked like he was up and coming a little bit in Dallas. There were signs of it, but my gosh, like he has been killing it lately. And Dalton Schultz, you know, being a consistent tight end that he is, Devin Singletary went for $150 last week. That offensive line. Are you kidding me? And then don't even get me started on the defense. I love Jalen Petrie. I love, you know, what they've done on that defensive side of the ball. They got some good young talent there. And I think it all starts with D'Amico, man. He's done a great job. He's totally changed the culture. And I love what I'm seeing from Houston, man.
Okay. Anthony, what are you thinking, man?
You stole mine.
I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking about D'Amico too, but
too.
Yeah, D'Amico is the Texans coach.
Yeah, it's Texans coach match.
The other one I think that deserves a shout out at the moment might be Sean McVay. Oh wait, sorry, not Sean McVay. Sorry, I was thinking of the guy from Philadelphia, not Steichen,
Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni.
Best record in football.
Yeah.
I mean, and they have the hardest record that you could have, being a number one team, having come off the Super Bowl, or coming up second place in the Super Bowl. So like, I think a lot of people were expecting them to come back to earth a little bit. They were looking at the division like it was murderer's row because the Giants were coming off a playoff berth, because the Cowboys are always strong. They not only have the best record, they're 8-1. They are the only team with only one loss. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, they've got a chance to like finish out this season, maybe 13, 14 wins. And I'm not sure anybody else gets close to that. Yeah. With the way things are going right now.
They do have a rough stretch of games coming up right now, Anthony.
Do they?
Well, they have the Chiefs this week. They have the Chiefs on Monday night this week, and then I think they have the 49ers and the Cowboys, and the Bills are coming up too. Weeks.
You're right.
Yeah, you will. We'll try to link up down in the city there, Jake.
That's just me trying to come up with something fast, because I think that right now it has to be D'Amico Ryans, because it traditionally goes to the coach that turns the team around the most, not necessarily the one who has the best record.
Yeah.
And like, how do you go from being, what were they, the second worst team in football last year, to being within a game of the division? It's not a strong division, don't get me wrong, but like,
yeah, but that game they won. That game they won against the Bengals this week. That was a tough, hard-fought game that they came out
Absolutely.
on top of.
Absolutely. And CJ Stroud is just making it look like he's been in the league for 15 years. The dude is just incredible. He's like, looks like prime Warren Moon.
Love it. Love that comparison too.
Yeah, that is a nice comparison. So I'm going to go in a different direction from you guys. I'm going to go with Kevin O'Connell in Cleveland. Ooh, okay. I love the way they're playing defense, and I love the way they're playing offense. They lost Nick Chubb in week 2 and didn't skip a beat. Jerome Ford signed Kareem Hunt off
Kevin Stefanski, by the way, Keith.
Kevin Stefanski.
You're saying Cleveland? Yeah, Kevin Stefanski. Kevin O'Connell still viable too, though, for Minnesota. That's not a bad option.
Sorry.
With the way they've rebounded. But Kevin Stefanski,
My bad. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. Love what he's doing there. Even if I can't remember his name. No, I love what he's doing there. I love the way the Cleveland Browns are playing. I love the way that they're sorry, Sean. I went in a different direction. I faked you out, man.
He's viable though too. Honestly, I mean,
no, they are playing really good football after starting out real slow. Yeah. But I love what Kevin Stefanski's doing in Cleveland. I love the way they're playing. They have a ferocious defense. They're on par with the Jets, in my opinion.
I was actually, if you want to talk about their defense, like, we have to give a huge shout out to the switch in defensive coordinators.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz, baby.
Schwartz, that dude, he just made that whole defense so much easier for them. They were complaining last year that the defense was just putting people in positions to be to fail. Yeah. And now Myles Garrett's going absolutely nuts. The secondary is just a packet of bandits. Mm-hmm. They're nasty. They are just with the Jets, point for point with the Jets in terms of talent on their defense. It's amazing.
I agree. I was actually expecting a little pushback from you on that one, Anthony.
No, of course not. No, game recognized game.
Nice. Chris, who you think for Coach of the Year?
I was gonna go D'Amico Ryans, but Jake Butt beat me to him, and every day was great, especially because the Texans have been so bad with just the players that they had with Brock Osweiler and Davis Mills in the past few years. So to see them doing well is great. But I'm gonna go with Mike McCarthy instead. And
that's a good name.
All right,
I like that.
And what they've been doing in the past few weeks. I know everyone had a lot of criticism for Dak Prescott. Every year he goes in with a lot of criticism, and the defense has been stepping up. But I think the biggest surprise in the past few weeks has been how well Dak has been playing. He's been throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns a game, and they're just blowing teams out the water.
How about CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb
going off.
Even Brandon Cooks, I think, went for 130 yards last game. So it was
good to see.
They were playing a team that didn't have a quarterback at all.
True.
They throw the ball 6 times is terrible. Tommy DeVito, come on.
Yeah. But regardless, they've been beating up on some teams though.
I got a question for Keith. I got a question for you, Keith, because you're a Philly guy. You probably know a little bit about Jersey. I saw an article and it was about Tommy DeVito and his dad. Yeah. And they said, is Tommy DeVito's dad the most New Jersey guy you've ever seen? What do you think?
Oh my God. Yeah, he looks like the Jersey Shore
about
10 years from now.
Forget about it.
And,
that's hilarious.
He still lives with his parents. Tommy DeVito.
I know it.
He still lives with his parents. He said my mom still does my laundry for me.
He's Italian. He's gonna live there till he's married.
Hey, look, I'm not criticizing. If I could get my mom to do my laundry for me, I would.
Oh, hell yeah.
But
shout out Mama Podge. Yep.
Yeah. But and we mentioned CD. We talked about hands earlier. CD has some of the best hands in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
The ball he made a catch against the Giants in the first quarter of that game. It was a one-handed grab where the cornerback had his right arm and he just reached out, grabbed it with his left arm and pulled it right in. It was a thing of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on here, guys. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
You know who it is.
Yeah, I think. Well, you know what? I'll start with you then, Chris. Who's it going to be?
C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, without a doubt. He's been killing it. He's been absolutely killing it. Like when they drafted him, I didn't think nothing of it. I said, well, the Texans are going to be the same team that they've been the past few years. They've had rookies that just come in and they just stink it up. I said the Texans, they didn't have any receivers. They didn't have any running backs. Well, Damian Pierce was looking good last year. He's taking a step back this year, but they don't need him this year because C.J. Stroud is the man. He is the real deal. And you thought maybe one game where he threw 4 touchdowns, a little flash in the pan, but nope. This guy's been doing it back-to-back weeks, and the game against Tampa Bay, the game that he had last week against the Bengals, man, this guy can ball. He's
starting to figure it out too. He's really, you can tell it's starting to click for him.
That's slowing down halfway through the first year. That's crazy.
Jake, any pushback on that one?
I'm gonna go away from the quarterback position. I'm gonna go Puka Nacua. I know he's cooled down a little bit, but the guy's put up numbers, man, and it was so unexpected. 5th round pick, 827 yards receiving this year. Are you kidding me right now? He is totally outperformed his draft grade. And I mean, he filled in quite nicely for Cooper Kupp. And listen, the Rams are not doing great this year, but he's lit the world on fire, I feel like, especially from a fantasy perspective. No one knew who Puka Nacua was prior to the season. Now everyone at least knows his name.
Yeah.
I think that's more of the Matt Stafford effect right there.
Well, I remember him going off in week 1, and I thought, I've never heard of this guy before.
This is
I'm not going to pick him up. I'm not going to pick him up on the waiver wire in my fantasy football league. And boy, do I regret that decision.
For sure.
Look, there's a lot of decisions I regret in our fantasy football league, but that's probably chief among them. Yeah. Anthony, who are you thinking for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Offensive rookie of the year, obviously, CJ Stroud, definitely number one. Puka has cooled down. He deserves a shout out, but I'm going to go with Jordan Addison.
Nice.
Ooh, I like that one.
Addison.
Good pick. Good pick.
He's over now 600 yards. He's on pace for like 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Jefferson's out of the lineup. The quarterback, Kirk Cousins, is out of the lineup, and he is still the most consistent offensive producer that they have.
Yep.
It's really impressive that a rookie that, 4.5 40 and pretty short is absolutely dragging that team offensively right now to wins. It's really impressive. He's done a fantastic job. There have been a few very decent rookies this year. I don't feel like the rookie class this year offensively is putting up the kind of numbers that the rookie class did last year with your Garrett Wilsons, your Chris Olaves. But like
Drake London. Yeah.
Drake London as another one. But generally speaking, like they've been pretty good. They've all been contributors. Zay Flowers has been a good contributor. The dude in Josh Downs, another very good contributor.
Yeah,
all guys
very
are
good.
600 yards.
Keith, I think I know who you're going to go with.
Who am I going to go
All right,
with?
I was Bijan Robinson.
No.
Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, no, definitely not Kincaid.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Miami could have had him.
Yeah. I wanted Kincaid. I wanted. There's a lot of tight ends I've wanted in this draft, and they came away with a guy who didn't even make the roster coming out of training camp. So,
Oh man,
Elijah Higgins. I don't know where he's at now. But he, wherever he's at,
Where is Elijah?
I hope he's doing well. But no, I think CJ Stroud is the obvious choice for offensive rookie of the year. I would like to give a shout out to a Dolphins rookie named Devon Achane, who has missed the last 4 games, but took the league by storm for a little while there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be used much more sparingly going forward because I think he is on the smallest side, and I think the Dolphins really want to have him around for this stretch run here. So they want to keep him fresh. So I think they're going to try and rotate Achane in with Raheem Mostert and add in some Jeff Wilson Jr. there.
I don't see. I think Salvin. I think what's it called? Salvin Ahmed or Ahmed.
Yeah.
I think he's probably gonna get the touches that Jeff Wilson. I think Jeff Wilson's probably gonna get regulated back because he wasn't really producing when he came back.
He's
my opinion.
When Chris Brooks gets healthy, he might run a little bit too.
What's that?
When Chris Brooks gets healthy, I think they're gonna mix him a little bit more too.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him come in for short yardage situations, Anthony. I think that's the strength of his game. But right now, Jeff Wilson Jr. is the best
yards per carry, though.
What's that?
He was averaging like 6.3 yards per carry, though.
Yeah. Most of those carries were in garbage time.
12.1 for Devon Achane. I had to look that up because I knew it was well over 10. 12.1 yards. I look at his stats. You'd think they're receiving stats, like 38 for 460.
Yeah.
No, that's carries and rush. Yeah. Holy.
Listen,
crap.
I hope they don't take a step back on his touches because I have him. And well, except for our league, I have him in every single one of my fantasy leagues. So I traded him in one of my leagues. I traded Christian McCaffrey for, and this was a crazy trade. I traded Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, it was crazy. This was like when he was the peak in probably like week 5. But I traded Christian McCaffrey, and a couple of other wide receivers for AJ Brown, Javonte Williams, Devon Achane, and Jordan Addison. And I won.
That's pretty decent. Then
I won that trade big time.
Was it a dynasty league too?
No, unfortunately not.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. So, he did good. He got me my 20 points, and then he went on IR, which is unfortunately. But AJ Brown stepped up huge since then. Jordan Addison stepped up huge since then. I traded Javonte Williams for a couple players, so I was able to make some good moves and save my team from last place.
Look at you, Chris, wheeling and dealing. Love it.
You know.
All right. Let's move on to defensive rookie of the year. This one's not as cut and dry, I don't think. I'm going to start on this one. I'm going to start because I'm in Philly and I see this guy and I hear about this guy all the time. Jalen Carter in Philadelphia has been absolutely tearing it up. He's looking like the next iteration of Aaron Donald here. In all honesty, like he's looking unbelievable in Philadelphia. He's a game wrecker. in the middle of that line for the Eagles. And him playing alongside of guys like Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox, who still has a little bit of juice left. But Hassan Reddick, yes. But Jalen Carter has been a one-man wrecking crew on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed it firsthand against the Dolphins. He would just cave in the middle of the Dolphins' offensive line, making it impossible for them to execute whatever play they were trying to execute there. So that's my choice for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jake, who are you thinking?
Well, I mean, that's certainly I think he's definitely the leader on that. But I gotta say, for me, the guy that I've been very impressed with is Devin Witherspoon. What he's done there in Seattle has been incredible. They don't miss. I mean, you had Tariq Woolen last year. You have Devin Witherspoon this year. I mean, they have been fantastic drafting corners, and Tariq was a late round pick. And man, it's they've done a tremendous job. So they got themselves a nice secondary there in Seattle, and he's done awesome, man. So that's my front leader.
Okay.
Jalen Carter, yeah, tough. There was all that stuff that came out before the draft. They thought it would maybe affect his stock and all that, and
it did to an extent. I think he would have gone first overall otherwise.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. Yeah.
Ray Lewis killed someone too, and he's still a legend.
I did a thesis on that Ray Lewis thing, man. Wild story.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Anthony, who are you thinking, man?
Yeah, you guys took, I think, two of the top ones. I think Devin Witherspoon and Jalen Carter are probably at the top of the list. I think Brian Branch deserves a shout out. He slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Good call.
But he's been absolutely incredible. I think the Will Anderson is at wow, I'm actually shocked. He's only at 2 sacks, but I thought he had like an absolute crap ton of pressure so far in the season too.
Tuli Palutu.
Tui Topolotu. Yeah, that's true.
Chargers.
Yeah.
He's been very good.
For the Raiders, he's been incredible. Like, what a pick that dude was. I didn't expect him to go as high as he did, but like, wow.
Yeah.
He's
been great.
Tuli has been absolutely insane. He's one of those prospects like Tyler Smith was last year, where like they go higher than they're supposed to, but then you find out he's actually the youngest guy in the draft or one of the youngest guys in the draft, and like he might have been under scouted by like the amateur scouting community, but the NFL had their eyes on him the whole time, and it turns out there's a reason for it.
For sure.
Chris, who you think for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Could have been your boy Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah,
that's exactly who I'm.
Very upsetting.
That's exactly who I'm going to pick. Christian Gonzalez. Okay. I mean, just because of what could have been. You know, before he went down, unfortunately, with his injury, Christian Gonzalez was locking up receivers left and right. He was shutting them down, and he was just he was the stud that we all thought he was going to be, especially for his high draft class or for the high draft pick. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see more of him, you know, the silent assassin for the rest of the season. But being a Patriots fan, I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez because he is and could have been and probably will still be that guy.
He's definitely got a bright future ahead of him, but I don't think he has Defensive Rookie of the Year award ahead of him.
I mean, if he kept playing, if he was healthy,
he was on pace.
He would have been
my defensive. Yeah, he's my Defensive Rookie of the Year.
He certainly would have been in that discussion. All right, we're going to end things on the last category here, guys. NFL MVP. I'm going to start here with Anthony. Who are you thinking for NFL MVP?
God. I had not been thinking about MVP, so can we end on me?
Sure. All right, Jake, who are you thinking for NFL MVP this season?
I'm staying away from quarterbacks.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. The guy's a touchdown machine. 700 and something yards rushing, 760 something, I think. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. He's got 4 receiving touchdowns. He's got 13 total touchdowns in 9 games. I mean, that offense runs through Christian McCaffrey. And I know Kyle Shanahan doesn't give a shit about your fantasy team. I don't swear often. I had to emphasize that one a little bit. But I think I got to give it to him. I think there's just so much that he brings to the table. And it just seems more clear-cut to me. I think the quarterbacks are close. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Tua's in the discussion. Statistically, Josh Allen is still in the discussion, which is insane. He's got the most offensive touchdowns in the league.
Don't forget about Lamar Jackson, too.
Yeah, so the Lamar thing is crazy to me. The guy's numbers are really not there. But I think just because he's a winner, I mean, it's a tough game Sunday, but he's only thrown like 10 passing touchdowns this year. He hasn't put up really good numbers. I feel like the stats still have to follow. Like, I respect, I don't think stats tell the full story. Obviously, as you see with Josh Allen, it doesn't tell the full story, but I think it does to a certain extent. And I think MVP, because it is an individual award, you got to have both the stats and you got to have like something about you that brings an X factor, like that makes that team what it is and makes them better.
Okay.
So, but yeah, CMC.
I love the pick. Chris, what are you thinking? MVP.
My MVP, I'm going to have to give it to my boy A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown broke the receiving record for most consecutive games with over 120 receiving yards. He's just been out here killing it. And despite the production that you've seen from Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown is not too far behind him in receiving yardage. So I'm going to give it to that boy A.J. Brown because he's just been doing his thing out in Philly, and I don't see it stopping. I don't see it stopping at all.
Well, I'm going to go next. If we aren't doing quarterbacks, which quarterbacks normally win, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, guys. Tyreek Hill is going for a record here this year. He wants to get over 2,000 receiving yards. And, I love to be the guy that says he can't do it. I'd love to see the guy who says he can't do it because Tyreek's going to try and prove that guy wrong. He has – he transformed the Dolphins offense last year, broke all kinds of franchise receiving records. He's on pace to shatter all of them this year and then some. And he has been transformative for this Dolphins offense. He's been instrumental to their offense. And he only plays about 50% of the snaps for the Dolphins. People don't realize that. He doesn't, running downs, Tyreek doesn't play all that often. So, when he's in there, he's catching passes and he's impacting the game in ways that we don't often see from wide receivers. So if we're not doing quarterbacks, I might have actually gone Lamar Jackson. But if we're not doing quarterbacks, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. Anthony, you've had time to take this one over.
Absolutely. I have an insane one for you.
All right.
Josh Dobbs.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
I like it.
Darker. I mean, he's been doing his thing.
He was sort of making it happen a little bit in Arizona. Obviously, they didn't win too many games, but that team's terrible.
Yes.
But since he's gotten to Minnesota, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns, 7 yards per carry on the ground. He's got, once he gets Jefferson back, 2 elite wide receiving targets, a running game that's already running, an offensive line that is very solid.
And a beast of a tight end.
A beast of a tight end. And let's not ignore the media is a huge focus on this. And if he winds up coming in out of absolutely nowhere, the storyline of him leading the Minnesota Vikings to the playoffs,
crazy.
That might go absolutely insane. I don't think he's going to win it, obviously, because he's such an extreme long shot. But the story,
awesome story.
It would be wild if they go to the playoffs. It would be wild if they do anything in the playoffs.
I wonder what's the difference, and I know that it's a different team surrounding him and everything, but what is the difference between Josh Dobbs in Arizona and Josh Dobbs in Minnesota? Because he wasn't that guy in Arizona, not at all. And
he was doing very nice things for Arizona. He was 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns.
He was managing it, but I feel like the difference between Minnesota and Arizona is one, like Keith mentioned, or like Anthony mentioned rather, the receiving core, the offensive line, and then definitely he has more weapons. And they just have a more complete, ready-to-compete team. I feel like Minnesota has always been a ready-to-compete team. Even with Kirk Cousins, they went to the playoffs multiple years. They've always been having a great, great team. So when you bring in a quarterback who can move the ball like Josh Dobbs and on the ground too, which Kirk Cousins couldn't do, then you bring a whole nother element to the game. So, yeah, I think think just overall the team was in a better position.
Sean is on one
Sean's having
tonight.
himself some time.
I'm dying, brother. You are making my day so much better. I just want to let
Vikings
you know.
Raiders Super Bowl. Listen, put money on that, Sean. You might hit the biggest parlay of your life.
Dude, I'll tell you what. The biggest difference for Josh Dobbs, I think, is Kevin O'Connell. He did do some great things in Arizona, but going from Jonathan Gannon, and no disrespect to him, I hope he pans out there. But going from Jonathan Gannon to Kevin O'Connell, who's a quarterback-friendly guy. I mean, you saw the numbers Kirk was putting up, too. He was putting up MVP numbers.
He was.
I think that is a huge difference for him, and it's a perfect system for him, too. So we're starting to see what he can really do. I mean, he can play in this league, for sure.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, the 2017 Vikings when they had to go to Case Keenum, and Case Keenum led them on that big winning streak, Minneapolis Miracle with Steph Diggs. Yeah.
But even if Josh Dobbs is just a very good game manager that also happens to be able to run the ball exceptionally well, that added dimension might be enough for that team to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That defense has gotten a lot better with Brian Flores taking over.
For sure.
I don't know if you call him a game manager because he's making some plays. He's making some plays.
Yeah. But I mean, game managers can manage to make plays too. I don't want that to be a slight. Like, he's not throwing bad interceptions. He's not going well beyond like his means. He's taking what's there, and they have weapons, and he has a phenomenal offensive coordinator.
His numbers aren't glaring by any means. Like, I think that's what separates a game manager and a guy like CJ Stroud. I wouldn't say CJ Stroud is a game manager. That's a game breaker.
But there's
I don't put him in the same category.
There's a certain stigma that goes along with being called a game manager. Like Anthony called Tua a game manager earlier on in the show, and I was ready to throw fists. No, no, he called him a game manager, and he called him a very good game manager. That was your direct quote, Anthony, and that honestly describes Tua pretty aptly, in my opinion. You know, that's what he is. So calling Josh Dobbs a very good game manager who can also run the ball, I don't view that as a slight.
That's fair. Yeah.
When I think about a game manager, I think about early in the season, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was a game manager with just the Cowboys defense just doing everything they needed to, getting all the defensive touchdowns, getting the stops, putting them within like the 20 yards. Because if you look at his statistics, he didn't really have to throw the ball at all. You know, he's getting low yardage. But the past few weeks, Dak, I wouldn't call him a game manager. I feel like he's been a game breaker. So there is a difference between a game manager and a game breaker. So I do understand that analogy right there.
Tua is a spot thrower.
He is.
And he hits the spot every friggin' time.
He does.
Except for last week against the Chiefs. He did not hit many spots in that game.
He throws to a spot and he hits it every friggin' time. And guess what? He hits it to a receiver that busts it open.
In stride. And in stride, yep. Running full speed.
Yeah.
Sean, you are...
Oh, my God.
Hey, this version of Sean Kula, man, we're starting to see another version. He told me yesterday, he's like, you know what? It's great because I have no expectations anymore. I am just, he's just clapping and laughing with the madness. And this is what being a Bills fan is.
All right. So we've been at this about an hour and a half, guys. We're going to shut it down right now. Any last thoughts? Jake, what are you thinking?
Anthony, it's going to be a fun discussion next Monday or next Tuesday. I can tell you that. I'm hoping, or it won't be, and we're going to both be miserable. I think this week is going to be very telling, and I mean, time's running out, and we're 5-5 right now. And boys, this AFC East, we thought it was going to be the best division in football.
Yeah,
not the case. Not the case.
Yeah,
good thing we didn't bet on it.
Yeah, it's a damn good thing we didn't bet on it.
It's looking more and more like it's the AFC North, actually. That's the division right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Anthony, any last thoughts, man?
Same thing. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be an insufferable week. And the worst part about it, to be honest with you, is that neither team's season is over if they lose.
Yeah.
Like crazy. We've still got a couple weeks left of this, at the very least, for both sides.
I'm saying 0-0.
Yeah, no, it's 0-0. That's what we're going for. So like, I can't start draft prep yet. It's always when the Jets are out of the playoff contention, then I am starting draft prep. So,
So normally you start draft prep around like September. And
I'm in it by like Halloween.
Yeah.
most years. So like it's getting, it is what it is. I'm excited. Really, I'm hoping to see if if the dolphin mating noise can really heal Aaron Rodgers' Achilles tendon fast enough for us to not be out of playoff contention by the time he gets back.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm a tough act to follow.
That's tough to follow, Anthony. Chris, any last thoughts, man?
Man, I think the Patriots are going to be the first team to ever lose the bye week. So I think that's
gosh.
I think that's where we're at right now. And it's funny when you spoke about game managers and the AFC North being the best division looking division so far. A true game manager, when I think about it, is Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is a game manager for sure, because it's crazy to think the Steelers are 6-3. I don't think I've seen them go a game over 20 this season.
No, it's ugly. It's ugly.
Yes.
Yeah, they are winning. They are winning in the ugliest way possible.
If we want to talk about MVPs, sleepers, TJ Watt.
Yeah,
there you go.
Defensive player hasn't won it in a very, very long time, but the truth of the matter is that man is keeping them in it. Him combined with Hightower, unbelievable.
Yeah. All I know is that the 49ers are probably going to be up high contender to win this year, because with that acquisition of Chase Young, I don't see anybody. The way they shut down the Jags, that was a scary sight to see. I don't see anybody really stopping that defense.
That was impressive. Their dissemination of the Jaguars.
And Zay Jones is probably is done with the Jags with the domestic violence charge.
Brutal, man.
He's probably done.
All right, so that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Chris, just relax and enjoy your team not losing this week, huh?
They're gonna lose.
You can make fun of us a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah.
I can't.
You will anyway.
Yeah, of course. Every time the Bills start losing, I'm always in that Bills chat.
Oh, I know. You let us know. We are well aware. Yes.
All right, so. Look, guys, it's been great. If you guys like what you saw, if you're out there, you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Drop a nickel on that like button, as Mike says. And look, have a lovely night. Fins up.
Go Bills.
Take flight.
Pats Nation.